So, Derek, Eurogamer and VGC have just reported saying that apparently, behind closed doors at Gamescom, developers and some press members were seeing the Switch 2, and they've given some specifics about it. So, we won't go into this too much, we've got an update about that if you want to see absolutely everything. But the gist is, Switch 2 can run the Unreal Engine 5 Matrix tech demo, which was like a push for what PS5 and Series X can do. And the main reason it can do that is because it's using DLSS, which is NVIDIA technology that essentially takes low resolution images and makes them high resolution. So you can use it on PC right now, you can take games running at like 720p or 520p and make them magically go to 4K using their upscaling technology, which is kind of nuts. And it's definitely a very nice secret sauce for a handheld device to magically...
That feels like cheating.
It does feel like cheating, yeah. Now, what we don't know is exactly what version of DLSS is being used, because on NVIDIA's 4000 series cards, there is a frame generation technique that you can get from DLSS, and it doesn't work on their 3000 and back cards. So if the Switch 2 has that, then not only can it also double the resolution, but it can double the frame rate. Now, the reason it probably won't have that, at least from my opinion, is because that is for the higher end cards. It's a specified chip that those cards have. And I don't think they would cram that into the Switch 2, but if they can, then even more performance.
Just wow, because if these rumors are correct, this will be the first time since the GameCube that Nintendo's been at parity with current gen consoles.
Right, and that's the big thing we want to talk about right now, because Switch got some current gen ports. We've got like Doom and Doom Eternal and Wolfenstein: The New Order. Like that stuff, New Colossus even, not New Order. That stuff was very impressive, but it was always compromised. It always looked blurry. It was always like half the frame rate. But now, like, we shouldn't expect like complete parity with PS5, but we should be expecting pretty much the same games. Like maybe the texture quality be lesser, but for the most part, we should pretty much expect PS5 games with what we've heard from so far.
And by all accounts, it's still portable. I mean, I can't imagine them getting rid of the portability that made Switch so successful.
Yeah.
So the fact that we get near parity with the PS5, while also getting potentially the games available on PS5, maybe not quite that level, is this Nintendo? That's sort of my feeling about this. This does not sound like Nintendo.
Right. And I guess to their benefit, PlayStation 5 and Series X have also kind of been coasting on a cross-gen library for a while, and there aren't that many like current-gen exclusives. We don't know if those big current-gen, made from the ground-up games are going to work here, but we can pretty much say anything that's also on PlayStation 4 is that's guaranteed to have a chance to come onto this system.
Yeah.
And that's what we want to talk about. We want to talk about all those games that weren't on the Switch, or weren't possible on the Switch, or weren't even great on the Switch, that can have a second chance in a portable form on Switch 2, using the tech that we've just learned about. So, Derek, do you have a cool game that you'd like to see on the next-gen Switch?
I mean, the first one that came to mind when I heard about this, and the fact they could have at parity, and it's also Capcom, they'd be crazy not to put Street Fighter 6 on this Switch successor. It's already doing incredibly well. The Switch can do, it just has that boost that gives it. And I'm going to assume that the Switch successor is going to have that same ability to just boost anything just because of the handheld. And one of the first killer apps that Capcom, like the thing that opened their eyes to that hey, we should probably do some things for the Switch, was Ultra Street Fighter 2, which is just like not a very low effort port, let's be honest. And you put Street Fighter 6 on there, all of a sudden it's like, oh, I can play this wherever I want. And the online's actually pretty decent when it comes to this. So I can like do the whole I'm waiting at the coffee shop. I'm gonna get a few rounds in type thing.
I can't believe we didn't talk about Way of the Hado from Ultra Street Fighter 2. Man,
it needs to return.
It needs to return.
Way of the Hado 6.
Capcom love porting games, and they're really good at porting their current gen games to portables in the previous generation. Because like 3DS had Street Fighter 4, which was like the current game in that era, and then Vita got Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, and also Street Fighter Cross Tekken. So there's a precedent for them doing that stuff. And those were like pretty downgraded ports. Like getting those to run those systems must have been pretty hard. Street Fighter 6, it should pretty much just work. Like, Switch already runs RE Engine. It wouldn't run Street Fighter 6, I'm sure. But like, with this giant boost in power, it really shouldn't be that tough to get Street Fighter 6 on this thing.
No, not at all. This should be relatively easy, and they could even have any advantage depending on when this comes out, being like, hey, here's a new version for Switch that includes the first season of DLC. Make it that much more attractive.
Yeah.
You don't have to get the DLC pass. It's just like Super Street Fighter 6.
That might be what they do.
Especially if it's called the Super Switch.
Oh, yeah.
That's perfect.
A lot of developers, when it came to the first Switch, they were not on board at first. Like, no one knew what it was going to do. And like by the launch, most major third parties had nothing to do with the Switch. And it took like a year or two. For Capcom, it took until Monster Hunter Rise, really, to fully support that thing. But this time, I reckon pretty much every studio's like, we've got to be there year one. And Capcom, I think they're going to bring most of their library pretty early on. Street Fighter 6, absolutely. But also the Resident Evils. And I'm talking, there's a lot of them. On PS4, they did Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 3, Resident Evil 4, Resident Evil 7, Resident Evil Village. That's a lot of games. And the Switch got cloud versions of all of them.
You know what would be a really cool move by Capcom? I don't know if they'd do it. But if you did buy those cloud versions, bless your soul, you automatically get the actual digital copy, the non-cloud version, for the Switch successor.
Yeah.
That'd be a cool move.
It'd be for like 10 people, but it would be a cool move, yeah.
I mean, that's why it's like kind of cost effective. Yeah. It's like, let's make those people happy and be like, hey, we got you.
Yeah. But yeah, that would be so cool, though. A chunk of those games got next-gen updates too. Resident Evil 2 and 3, and I think even 7 and 8. They all got like ray tracing updates, I'm pretty sure. And they run like 60 FPS, 4K. I see no reason that they couldn't come to the next Switch. It just seems like a no-brainer.
Not at all.
Maybe be selective. Like, maybe is 7 too old? Is 3 not as highly regarded? But like 4 and Village, especially 4, absolutely.
I feel like 2 or 4 would be the first one on there, and then they just roll out the others over time.
Yeah, that makes sense. I feel like
that's like that just makes complete sense in my mind. And it's also one of those things like, here's these old ones to build up the fact like, here comes Resident Evil 9 or whatever.
And what we're talking about, like, it's never too old for Capcom. They ported like 4, 5, and 6 to Switch this gen. They did Okami. Like, even if it's digital only, I think 7's gonna come. But I reckon 4 and Village will probably get like full-on retail releases, especially with 4's DLC coming up. But I think another pretty big game that Switch missed was Elden Ring. And like, Switch got Dark Souls. It sold really well on Switch, actually. But Elden Ring obviously couldn't run on Switch. It's a much larger scope game. It's open world. There's a lot more to do there. And it released on PlayStation 4, PS5, Series X, Xbox One. I see absolutely no reason Elden Ring would skip the successor.
No. I think that's a lock-in, and that's a key one that you could just get on there and get people excited. Be like, oh hell yeah, Elden Ring portable. I don't have to buy a Steam Deck.
Right. That's like a launch title status. I reckon they'll launch with Elden Ring.
Yeah, I could see launch title for that one. I along with Elden Ring, I do wonder if we could see Armored Core 6. I don't know the sales of Armored Core 6, but I feel like, why not at that point?
I mean, all the more reason if the like, I think it's going to sell well, but even if it doesn't, all the more reason to bring it to another system. Like, just juice some more sales out of it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, especially if the port's relatively easy.
Yeah.
Relatively, honestly. I think it's entirely possible.
It's probably too late for Dark Souls 3. That's quite an old game at this point.
Yeah.
But like, it would be nice, though, to get another PS4 tier game from Software.
An interesting thing they could do in that way is maybe Dark Souls Trilogy.
Well, that brings up another point. What do we expect from the storage of this thing? Because some games did skip the Switch because the cartridge size just couldn't hold them. Like, GTA 5 was a PlayStation 3 and 360 game. It could have come to Switch, like, they could have just ported that version, but I guess the thing holding it back was probably storage capacity.
That's the trickiest thing. Like, I don't know how much internal storage this thing will have. We only got 32 gigs for the initial Switch, and that's definitely not enough. But the thing is, you can get those tiny, like, terabytes for relatively decent price, but if that's built in, all of a sudden that's upping the price of the Switch itself. But also, so it's like, is it better to have that up front or have it the consumer get it later because, hey, Switch Steam's cheaper now?
Yeah, like, it's all well and good that there's parity between not overall, like there's a comparability between the two systems now, as in Switch 2 and PS5. But games are approaching like 100 gigabytes, 150 gigabytes. That there's a realistic expectation for can you actually bring these games over. I think that there probably will be quite a drastic jump in storage capacity. We probably will still get some games being like, you got to download this part, but I think, I definitely expect a massive jump, and it'll probably be more of a standard, like for even Nintendo games to be much larger.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that almost being a reason for the $70 price tag, just to have that more storage capacity on the cartridges. Because I assume they're going to stick with the cartridges because what are they? Basically SD cards. Let's be real.
Yeah. Yeah, so, and a big benefit to that too is like, I don't know about you, Derek, but my PlayStation 5 is always low on space. I can hold so few games.
I have to shift. I want to play a new game. I have to shift it around every time.
You've always got to install discs to the SSD, but assuming that they're sticking with cartridges, that shouldn't be an issue with the successor. You should be able to just like put a cartridge in, play it, like no install, and that's kind of delightful because my PS5 can hold like 6 games.
Remember when consoles always did that? Yeah. That was the advantage over the PC.
Yep. What's another game you'd like to see, Derek?
Another game I'd like to see. Honestly, we've mentioned, of course, there's apparently reports of seeing 7 Remake.
Yes.
On the Switch successor. Let's be honest. If they're going to put 7 Remake on there, Rebirth is going to come to that system, as well as Final Fantasy 16. I see that as a complete possibility, and really Final Fantasy 15 because we only got that pocket version on the original Switch, so 15 as well, and then throw another one in there for you. Xbox just got Final Fantasy 14. Why not put it on Switch as well?
That makes too much sense. Yeah. When it comes to like 16 and 7 Remake or 7 Rebirth, like Sony's exclusivity is the only like hurdle there, but I'm pretty sure 7 Remake's exclusivity is up. Like it came to the Epic Games Store, it came to Steam, 16's on its way to Steam. I think there was even a report a while back that 16 has like a year-long exclusivity, so maybe.
Yeah. I mean, they've already announced DLC, have another complete version for the Switch to make it that much more of a a attractive quality to it.
Yeah. I've got one that will please Daniel. So I think this may have been announced for Switch a long time ago, but they've gone so quiet. Genshin Impact.
I had that on here as well.
Yeah. Is that Switch version still coming? If it is, it's probably too late.
Definitely not anymore.
Yeah, so why not? Nice easy one. Nothing really to say about that, but just very nice easy one.
Another one, sort of like those games that we never got, but it feels like it's just perfect for it, especially because there's so many now. The Hitman trilogy.
Yeah.
That did very well on consoles. Why not? I don't see that being an issue at all. And along the same lines, Yakuza.
Oh,
We've never had a Yakuza game on Switch, so all of a sudden, there's 9-10 games you can pop on the Switch. Bam.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes so. That last one was on Wii U. I think that's the only Nintendo one they ever got. They got like a port of 1 and 2 on Wii U. Yeah, I think that their reasoning for that is they don't see Nintendo as like an adult-themed console, which just feels like nonsense.
Yeah. I think the person wasn't it Togashi who was thinking that.
I think so.
And he's gone now, so they're probably like, yeah, we're gonna get some sales.
Yeah. I think Baldur's Gate 3 has a pretty high chance. My reasoning for that is Steam Deck can run it, and Steam Deck does not have DLSS. So if that kind of platform can run it without the big boost, it feels like a no-brainer that it would come along.
Especially with it being as big as it is, and yeah, it just... That's definitely a game kind of like Skyrim. It feels like at this point, it's just you got to get it on that system. Yeah. You want to have it available. And sort of along the same lines, I mean... Most of us probably don't care about this, but I think it's still a big point of like getting people to get a Switch successor and thinking, "Oh my God, this is cool." Call of Duty.
Yeah.
Whatever the new Call of Duty is, Switch could probably handle it. Storage space is always an issue because for whatever reason, Call of Duty is huge as far as their file sizes.
I mean, they're contractually obligated to bring Call of Duty now, but as for what version it is, like Switch. Obviously would be a big compromise version. I think when they made that contract, they were banking on like we won't have this until the successor is out, and it seems like they're getting their wish there. But yeah, Call of Duty, we know it's coming. It's just that, what capacity is it coming? But yeah, I reckon it is. It'll probably be massive. It'll probably be like 150 gigabytes, but it will be on
probably.
Yeah. I wonder about this though. So Xbox on Switch, they gave us the Ori duology. They helped bring Cuphead along. Minecraft is on there. It feels like those games made sense for the Switch. Not much of their library, not much else in their library does. It's like Halo wouldn't really work on Switch because in Master Chief Collection they're all like 30 gigabytes each. But Forza wouldn't work on Switch. Like they're all like they're made for these bigger consoles. Is there anything stopping Microsoft from putting Xbox games on the successor if the specs are there?
Well, that was kind of my wild card.
Okay.
There. I wasn't sure about other Xbox games, but there's one in particular I feel is perfect for Nintendo fans that they would eat that up immediately, and that's Rare Replay.
Oh,
People were expecting that on the Switch, and it didn't happen. This is just a better opportunity to get the Rare Replay on there, and all of a sudden have, just all these fantastic Rare games. Like I want it. It's like I'd love to get that compilation on there and just have all those fantastic Rare games available. Will it happen? That's a bit of a up in the air, but I feel like this is the best chance. And honestly, Nintendo fans are still very much Rare fans, classic Rare fans, and I think it'd be kind of crazy for Xbox not to take advantage of that.
Absolutely. That was one on my list as well. I think that could happen. I think the big hurdle is 360 emulation, because that's done through backwards compatibility on Xbox. But even without the 360 games, like there's a lot in there that people would love. Another Microsoft game I had, I kind of mentioned this just now, was Halo the Master Chief Collection. It's still active. Like Infinite is their current game, but people still come back to MCC. And I feel like it's this legacy. Like it's not treading on what Microsoft is currently doing, but it's kind of feeding you into their ecosystem. I think that'd be a great a great passage to Xbox games. But there was another one I had as well, and I think this one's probably not going to happen. But I think that they're doing Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024, and it would be absolutely wild if you could run Flight Simulator on a little handheld device.
That would be something. I can't see it.
I don't think it's going to happen either. But if it does, we said it here.
Yeah, mark our words. That's what
Guaranteed,
we're getting.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of like other possibilities. I mean, maybe the next Senua game, because we got the original on Switch. I don't know if we get the sequel, but there's precedent at least. But of course, that was before Microsoft bought them.
Right. I think Microsoft don't really view Nintendo as a competitor. They view PlayStation as. In the court documents especially,
I wonder if they might start viewing them, if this system is what it's supposed to be, I wonder if they might start viewing them more as a competitor.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe.
Because I think if this thing does what it does, I can see both of them being a little worried.
Yeah. It definitely, it's going to be cheaper too. Because it may sound very powerful, like running Unreal 5 with the Matrix. And we don't know the specs, but there is no way it's more expensive than a PS5. A lot of what is making it run so well is DLSS.
Would you think it would stay at the $300 mark, or would it go up to $400? Because I'm feeling $400.
I think $400 too. Like even if DLSS is doing heavy lifting, there is still going to be a much higher spec device than what the Switch is in there.
Potentially more storage and however much they charge for that or what have you. So
yeah, I think $400 makes sense, but there's no way this is a $500 machine there.
No, they won't charge $500 for that, because even Steam people love their Steam Decks, but that still feels like a niche thing for diehards. Nintendo's all about the wider market and getting, the family needs one, and that's definitely a thing, because we've got kids and just about all of them have their own Switch.
Yeah.
So that gets into that handheld mentality. So if they can hit that $300 price point, oh boy.
Yeah, it would truly be a competitor. Yeah. There's an indie game too that I think is quite likely. Stray. They just announced a Stray. I think was it a movie or a TV show? There's some kind of adaptation
animated
of Stray.
movie.
Right. Bolster that with a Switch 2 port of the original game. It's quite a good-looking game. It definitely made big waves on PS5 when it was part of PlayStation Plus. I think it could do well.
Yeah, I think that's another pretty solid one. I'm trying to think of other like indies that Switch never got, but nothing is really coming to mind because Nintendo gets most indies.
Yeah,
it's a good system for it.
Yeah, there's not really a shortage of indies out there. I think when it comes to like games that are already on Switch, The Witcher 3 probably could get another port. It had a current gen PlayStation 5 port recently.
And speaking of them, it makes sense to put Cyberpunk on there.
Yeah, that makes sense too.
I can see Cyberpunk coming and having that opportunity, and yeah, I'm trying. That's the thing is based on this system, it seems like most games will likely be able to come to it unless you get to the super high end stuff on PS5. Like they started doing those dedicated PS5 games. Like I don't know if God of War, like the new God of War, can make it only if they, obviously it's not going cross gen, but just an example of like a high end thing exclusive to PS5. That might struggle a bit. I doubt Ratchet and Clank would run as well just because of the need to, have the SSD.
I think we'll definitely come to a point like later in the generation where some ports just don't happen. I think. However, though, like DLSS keeps getting better is the thing too, though. Like they've just announced 3.5, which is the ray tracing update, and that applies to older cards as well. So technically, like with like DLSS 4.0, whenever that comes along, that could be also put into the Switch 2, even after it's released. So like games can gradually still keep getting better as the generation goes on. But yeah, it's black magic, this DLSS stuff.
It seems like it. Yeah. My God.
We're probably pretty much tapped here. I think one more thing. They put Ganondorf in Diablo 3 for the Switch. I think they'll put Ganondorf in Diablo 4 for the Switch.
Yeah, why not? Why not pop them in there, have all that. But yeah, I'm trying to think of any others. But for the most part, like name a game, and I'm pretty sure it might get a Switch port because it felt like that for a while just for the regular Switch. We might get improved ports for some of them, but just going down the line, Alan Wake 2, Devil May Cry 5, the Dead Space remake, all these, Tales of Arise, Persona 3 Reload.
Persona 3 is very likely, yeah.
Persona 3 feels like a guarantee.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of the upcoming games absolutely could be on the successor, and that's, on one hand, it makes sense. On the other hand, it's like, wow, if Nintendo really does go this proactive on their graphics technology and try to keep up, PS5, Sony and Microsoft might be in a little bit of trouble.
Yeah, it's an exciting time. Like, I would buy a lot of these games again for the portable form factor. Like I would definitely buy Elden Ring again. I would definitely buy Persona 3 again. That'd be a great portable game. We know it's a great portable game. There's a portable version of the first one.
Yeah.
It is genuinely very exciting.
You can really get the fans to rebuy it if it includes the Katone stuff.
Yeah, that's how you do it.
Persona 3 Reload Portable. There you go.
There you go. But yeah, really cool time. I think we've kind of probably tapped out on what we want to see, but I'm sure there's tons. There's been a whole generation of games that haven't
let us know. That's like I know we're missing some. So any of those things that's like based on this technology, you think that game could be in there? Definitely comment because I'd love to see some of the suggestions. Like, of course, that sort of idea.
And there may even be some games that were held back by the Switch. Well, that hurdle's not going to be there anymore. I know many feel that Sonic Frontiers was held back by the Switch. That wouldn't be a factor for the next game.
Yeah. It'd be cool if it, like the PS4 to PS5, there's an upgrade thing that you can do. Like, here's $10 more or $20 more or whatever, and you get the better version.
Yeah.
If you already have it.
We'll see if Nintendo do that, or if they just make like $60, $70 re-releases. Tropical Freeze 4K with new lanky mode.
Breath of the Wild 4K. Tears of the Kingdom 4K.
Pokemon 1080p.
Mario Kart 8 Super Deluxe with 48 more courses rather than getting a Mario Kart 9.
That's another video there. What games will Nintendo squeeze out of us again?
All of them.
I hope they do. If this isn't backwards compatible, I'm going to be so upset. And
it needs to be backwards compatible because get that little bit of boost that you can get from it, but don't make us rebuy it.
No.
Have the Switch library there, have the eShop there. You can buy it digitally if you still want to get those older games. Just don't make us like have a 4K version or whatever.
Yeah. But as Derek said earlier, if you have any games that we didn't talk about here, let us know in the comments. We genuinely do look through the comments, and this will be a really fun one to just scroll by. So thank you for watching, everyone. And if you want, you can support us on patreon.com/GVGaming, where we put a bunch of early videos up that you can watch before they go live. You can contribute to GVGcast, and way, way more. So consider supporting us if you can. And we will see you next time. Bye, everyone.
Bye.